you have talked about how Toastmaster helped you a little bit. Would you like to share more that how Toastmaster helped you either at your work or in person in your life?
Well, when I sit here and I think of every aspect of my life, I sit here and I think of the skills that I learned in Toastmasters, like I mentioned before, are transferable skills. I've been able to apply those in my personal life. The the one story I like to tell, I'm just kind of like joking around. But for example, when you use evaluation, your goal when you evaluate is to help the speaker to become a better speaker. I like to use evaluation with my husband. So what I'll do is maybe he's working on a certain project, and when he's done with the project, he'll say, "Hey, oh, here, what do you think?" And it might not be the greatest outcome because my husband is not a handyman, all right? So I will use the evaluation method that we use in Toastmasters, and I'll sit there and say, "Oh wow, that looks really, really nice. But you know what? Maybe next time you might want to do this," and then I'll wrap it up again as what he did good. So in my personal life, that's how I use it with my husband. At work, I would just have to say that some of the skills that I learned in Toastmasters, for example, running a meeting. When I've been at work, I'll sit here and I'll, help run the meeting, and people will be like, "Wow, how did you know that? We're already done." And then I'll just explain to them, "I learned this in Toastmasters. We have agendas. Everyone has an opportunity to speak for a certain time." Time management. When we sit here and think of our role as a timer, that's the perfect example. But I feel a lot of people, when they're in the Toastmaster meeting, they're not really, they're just sitting there going through the process of being a timer, a counter, a grammarian. But after a while, if they're in a work environment, those skills will automatically kick in.
Mhm.
And I just think it's really interesting when people who are not Toastmasters, they notice that and they'll say, "Well, how'd you know how to do that?" And I always give credit where needs to be given, and it's Toastmasters and the skills that we learn. We won't realize that as a Toastmaster member. You won't realize that until you find yourself in a situation outside of Toastmasters and you use that skill.
Mhm. I really love when you tell stories like doing the evaluation for your husband. So in your Toastmaster journey, is there any other interesting stories you like to share?
A lot of things happen in Toastmasters that, for example, we have a joke that we say we have to tell our members 100 times. And we always have people who will come up and they'll say, "Oh, I didn't know we needed to do that," or I don't remember getting that constant contact. So as leaders, we joke around and say, "Oh, we must have only told them 99 times." But it is really important. I feel a lot of leaders, the biggest mistake they make is they think all they have to do is say it once and people understand, but you need to keep reinforcing it.
Yeah.
So for me, this is what I tell the district leaders. If you hear me training you, or you hear me saying something, and if you hear it repeated by someone else, all it means it's important. That's why you're hearing it over and over. Because my experience has been you do have to say it several times before people get it, or they're using their listening skills. And that's what's really one of the great skill that you need to have in Toastmasters is listening. You really need to make sure that you are listening to what that person has to say.
Mhm. Any advice you have for new Toastmaster members?
If I would have known then, meaning when I first started in Toastmasters, if I would have known then what I know now, I wouldn't have been as hesitant to do things. I would have taken that step and probably been a little bit more aggressive. For example, when I started in Toastmaster, we had a basic manual. It was called the Competent Communicator. There were 10 speeches in the manual. I was so intimidated and shy and nervous. It took me 3 years to do 10 speeches. And now that I look back and I was like, I don't know what I was so afraid of. But I guess each person needs to figure out what their comfort level is. But like I said, if I would have known then what I know now, I would have been a little bit more aggressive. And when I am talking to new Toastmasters, I tell them that there's nothing to be afraid of. You have to realize everyone here wants to help you. We're just here to be supportive. I think as adults, though, we get into these little insecurities. Like right now, I'm doing a youth leadership and at an elementary school, and my students are third and fourth graders. When I asked, okay, who wants to do, next week's meeting roles, every one of them just like raised their hand. They were all excited. Nobody was nervous. And I was like, whoa. So I just feel as adults, when we're going through everything, that's where we kind of get our little, no confidence, our little insecurities. And I wish we could be more like the third and fourth graders on my youth leadership that I'm
Mm-hmm.
that I'm teaching right now. In fact, I asked him, I said, sometimes I said, in Toastmasters, we have contests. And I'm thinking, if you guys want to do this, I wanted to feel them out. I said, if you want, we can do a table topics contest or a speech contest. And they were all excited. So now I'm preparing them for their speeches for our contest and also for our table topics contest. So if you're new Toastmasters, there's nothing to be afraid of. Just do it.
Yeah, I remember someone said Toastmaster is a place for people to fail.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's the best place to fail.
So back to being the district director, District 5 director,
Mm-hmm.
What do you think are the chances for this year our district to be a distinguished district?
There's always a chance that we can be distinguished. It's just going to take a lot of hard work. Mm-hmm. And typically around this time, division directors, area directors, and even the trio, they just start second guessing themselves. But based on my experience, I just never give up. In fact, my favorite saying is right there, never, never, never give up. And I truly believe that. It's going to take a lot of work, but I'm in for it. I'm going to do as much as I can, and I hope everyone else feels that way too. But based on my experience, I can tell that there's some people right now that are doubting themselves, but I'm going to pick up the phone and talk to them.
Yeah, for me, last year I was the area director 22, and it was the last minute. Mm-hmm. I got my third club achieved distinguished, mm-hmm. and then making me a distinguished area.
Right.
It was impact team. They achieved distinguished at the last minute. I really thank them.
Right.
They worked really hard to get this happen, but it's really, really the last minute.
Right. My first year as district director, we were short one club. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know what? It's just not going to happen. And then I had a club call me up and say, hey, we got all our things in line and we're going to go ahead and submit it. And I was shocked. And I said, really? And they said, yeah. And I said, wow, I really thought that we weren't going to make it this year. And they said, no, you kept encouraging us. And that's all we needed. And you never know what a difference you can make in a club in a member. So you just can't give up. I think what's going to be a challenge for us is getting back up to our club base. I need to talk to I just need to talk to my people and just say, don't give up. I mean, it's just like you. The other day I sent you an email when we were talking about auto vitals, and then I was sitting there going, oh, and if you do this, you're going to be this, and if you do this, you're going to be this, and if you do this, you're going to be this. Because I look at you, Jinlu, when I see you, you remind me a little bit of when I was in district leadership. I just needed the person there to sit there and say, oh, okay, yeah, get to distinguish. Oh, well, you can do this, and it it's doable. It is doable. It's going to take work, and I just think that everybody just needs to have confidence in themselves. You'll like I said, I've been in situations where I did not think it was going to happen, and then it happened, and I was just like, oh my God, we did it. And we have good past leaders who, they're willing to help. I remember Eileen when she was district director. Oh my God, she was so determined. She would go to clubs and pick up their paperwork and then drive it all the way to Toastmasters International.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, we used to do things like that. Yeah, when they were up in Orange County, that was not unusual for us to drive membership applications up there and help our clubs, and yeah.
You have been a district director for 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
and your term is ending very soon. So what's next? After 3 times of district director, 2 times of region advisor, what's next in your Toastmaster journey?
In my Toastmaster journey, well, my husband and I will be retiring. We'll be moving to Arizona. I probably will still be involved in Toastmaster, probably as a member when I'm in Arizona. But for the district, I'm going to stay in District 5. In the district, I will help our leaders, but it's going to be behind the scenes. For example, Sujata is our district director. I'm going to be her advisor. But again, when I advise, I just give suggestions. It's up to them to decide how they want to do it. But I fully support them. And I have had district leaders in the past, I've given them advice, and they're like, well, I don't really know if I want to do it that way. And it's like, fine. I just want to let you know, you ask me. I'm not the type of person that's gonna go and say you need to do this. I will give advice and suggestions if asked, but it's their turn, it's their journey. So it's their time. So I'll be behind the scenes.
Any more message for the new district director, the new leadership team?
I've worked closely with Sujata in the past and Alex in the past. I've worked a little bit with Nico, not as much. Nico, I just feel my advice for him is to seek out, talk to past district leaders, and they can tell you, what roles are important in the beginning. I feel that every trio member has their people, but they needed to prioritize what's important. You can have a lot of roles under each committee roles under each position, but if you're not prioritizing what's important and what is part of the mission of the district, you're really wasting your time. So what does that mean? For example, club growth. It's very important. The first person he tries to find is a club extension chair. Okay. The next thing is, under the club extension chair, find the people who are going to be good launch meeting, helping with the demo meeting for a new club. Find people who are going to be the club sponsors, mentors, and coach. Now, when it comes to club mentors and sponsors, try, if you can, to have 2 club sponsors and 2 club mentors. The coaching position in Toastmasters right now, it's a little bit difficult, and it's just not in our district, it's in every district. Every year they try to find members step up to be coaches. But if the club growth director doesn't fill those critical roles first, and say he has someone that says, oh, I'm going to be the youth leadership chair, or I'm going to, do the member retention chair, or I'm going to do, while those roles are important, they're not important as the ones that are a priority. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. So for example, so that was club growth. We're only good for all of these roles. We're only as good as the people that step up to help us. Okay. So a lot of times I always get people sit here and say, well, how come we don't do this? And why aren't we doing this? We would love to do all those things. But if people don't step up to help us, there's not much that we can do. And we have to prioritize what's important for the district mission. Now, for program quality director, what they need to do is they need to find a good club officer training chair. And then they need to find someone who's good at training the club officers to train. Okay? The program quality director also needs to find a good Toastmaster Leadership Institute chair. So anything that's critical to training our members and giving quality training, that should be the priority of the program quality director right now. There's other committee members like judging chair, training, contest chair. Those are important too, but we're not starting, depending when we start our contest season is when we need to, recruit those. Mm-hmm. When it comes to contests and judging chair, I'm very adamant that we have good training in that, because I've seen when we do contest and judging chair, contest chair, it's to make sure that our contestants are treated fairly in the contest. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if we don't have good training on contests and judging, I feel that the contestants suffer. Okay. So that's why I'm very adamant when it comes to judging and knowing the speech contest rules. Before COVID, I guess I had a reputation that when I would go to a contest, I would walk in there, and I've had people sit there and say stuff like, oh my God, Joyce is here, we better do it right. And I'm like, they should always be doing it right, whether I'm here or not. So we just need to remember, it's for the contestants. We want them to feel that they were treated fairly when they were in the contest. Mm-hmm. So, and in regards to the district director, the committee members that are important to them is we have, it's appointed. It's the finance manager, the audit committee, the administration manager. So those are all important committees. Everyone on the team needs to understand that they do their role under the direction of the district director. But you also want to have a district director that's not a dictator, that listens to their people, and they're flexible. So to me, that would be a good leader as a district leader. But people also need to understand that if something happens, say a division director, something happens in their division, or something happens up at the program quality director does something that people get upset about, or the club growth director gets upset about something, it all falls on the district director. Mm-hmm. It really does. And then the public relations director, which I really feel that this year Sujata is going to probably really embrace them. The past couple of years we've had weak public relation manager. That is an appointed position, and I think it's good that it's appointed because now the district director can pick the person that they feel can best help the district.
Mhm.
So it's been a couple of years since we've had a really good public relations director. So I think the public relations director works closely. They say it works closely with the club growth director, but I really feel that the public relations director should work closely with all three of them.
Mhm.
So what happens is each year at the Toastmaster International Convention, they have a group of people. It's called Helping Hands. These are volunteers that help throughout the conference, and you get a discount on your registration. So I've done that for a couple of years. They give you like a little vest to wear, you're identified as a volunteer. But over the years, they take a group picture. So I've gotten really good about the group picture. And one year, Safwan from Toastmaster was there, and he was like, I want to be in the group picture, but I want everyone to know where I'm at. And I said, oh, that's easy. I said, follow me. So if you look, we're at the very top. The very top. There's me and there's Safwan.
Oh.
So if you ever volunteer, now you know you got to go to the top and everyone will see you. So that's one of my favorite pictures.